Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ABM 11 and gas. So, unti lang yung gas natin. So, actually, 7 lang sila. But please invite the other 5 to join the discussion. And if not, kung di sila maka-join, yung president, please, parang please advise them no to reach out din sa other group. But I will post naman sa group chat nyo yung grouping. So, you can create group chat na. Okay, so for today, we're going to discuss the chapter 2 of Organization and Management. So, its title is The Firm and Its Environment. Okay, so it is for the gas and ABM. Okay, so for today, we have the following contents, or this can be our learning objectives. So after all this discussion, after this chapter, we should be able to identify various forces and elements of the firm's environment, and then forces using pest and SWOT analysis. Yan ang walang kamatayang SWOT analysis. And then local and international business environment, role of business in relation to economy, phases of economic growth, and the forms of business organization together with the types of business according to its activity. Yun. So natamaan natin yung dalawang chapter ng FAVM. No, ganun kadali yung 5M natin. Dalawang chapter lang. Pero kasama lang siya sa topic sa organization and management. Okay? So yung first part natin is the elements of firm's environment. Okay, so we have the internal environment. No? Actually, we have already discussed then for the ABM, the users of accounting information. Yan. So for the sake of the gas, our internal environment is the owners, board of directors, employees, or managers. Kumbaga kaya siya tinawag na internal environment, nasa loob siya ng organization. Lahat ng taong makikita natin sa loob ng company or the organization. Okay, so first, yung owners, yan, who have the legal property rights to the business. Yan. So the word itself, sila yung may-ari ng business. This can be the shareholders. Ayan, pag sole naman, ito na yung kumbaga nagpapatakbo din ng business. Ayan, yung parang yung naglagay ng kapital doon sa para ma-start yung business na yun. Next one is the board of directors, elected by shareholders, charged with overseeing the general management of the firm to ensure it is being run in a way that best serves the stockholders' interest. Okay? So elected by shareholders and then seeing the general management of the firm. So usually, yung board of directors, sila din yung shareholders. And syempre, pag shareholder ka, owner ka. Pero not all the time, pag board of director ay owner na or shareholders. No? So depende yun, kung malakas yung topak ng shareholders, mag-e-elect sila ng board of directors na hindi naman stockholders. So depende sa gustong gawin ng shareholders. But normally, ito yung tao na ine-elect ng shareholders. No? And their duty is to oversee the general management of the firm. Okay? So you can be the board of director, pero hindi ka owner. Or you can be both, board of director and at the same time the owner. Yan. Pero usually talaga, pag board of director, owner. Okay? So next one is the employees or managers who perform day-to-day operations of the organization and ensure that work is being accomplished to achieve the organization's desired goals. So kumbaga sila yung mga mga nasa operations, no, para mag-operate day by day, no, yung ano nila, yung business nila. Okay? So for the managers, yan sila yung sila yung nag-check or nag-evaluate kung nagagawa ba ng tama yung nagagawa ba ng tama ng employees yung work nila. Okay? So per department, pwedeng may mga managers tayo. No? And then, yung mga reports na yon, kunyari na-evaluate na nila yung employees and then na-achieve nila yung department goal nila and objectives, this will be reported to the board of directors or shareholders, no, for further decision making. Okay? Next naman, the task environment or yung tinatawag nating external environment. Okay, so meaning, pag sinabi natin external, nasa labas na ito ng organization. Hindi natin sila nakikita sa loob ng organization. Okay, so for the task environment, this includes the suppliers, customers, distributors, and competitors. So syempre outside nga ng organization. So first, the suppliers. These are the individuals and companies that provide an organization with input resources that it needs to produce goods and services. Ito yung, pag sinabi natin supplier, ito yung mga nagpa-provide sa organization ng, for example, ng mga raw materials, no? Na pag na-provide na tong raw materials na to, the company will will transform those raw materials into finished goods or the final product that will be offered to the market or to the consumer and the customer. No? Next naman is the distributor. No? Organizations that help organizations sell their goods or services to the customer. So this can be the retailer na tinatawag nila. Ayan. Or pwede naman diretso sa mga store like 7-Eleven, and then siguro Pure Gold, no? Para yung mga store na to, sila yung magbebenta naman sa customer. Okay? Lalo na kunyari kung malaki yung company natin like San Miguel, hindi naman parang mostly, di ba, dinidistribute pa nila to sa mga intermediaries or yung mga tinatawag na ng middleman. And then those store will sell those products to the consumer. Yan. Okay, pwede naman walang distributor, no? Lalo na kung maliit lang naman yung company natin and then we can sell those products directly to the consumer and the customer. And, pero for those big companies, yan, may mga distributors din sila. Next is the customers. Individuals and groups that buy the goods and services of an organization. So we have two types, no, of those who buy or buyers. This can be the customer and then consumer. So again, when we say customer, ayun yung bumibili ng products. And then yung consumer, ayun naman yung gumagamit ng product. So you can be both, no? You can be the customer and at the same time consumer. Or you cannot be, no? Pwedeng magkaiba. So for example, yung mga diaper. Ayan. So the customer is your parent or the parents. And then the consumer is the baby. Okay? So that's the difference between the customers and the consumers. The last one, I think the last one is the competitors. So for the competitors, organizations that produce similar goods and services to an organization. Yan. So kumbaga parang pwedeng same industry or same kayo ng product pero may mga uniqueness lang or parang kumbaga meron kayong advantage or meron silang advantage yun. You can produce similar product with special features lang. So for example, sa mga kape, like ang magko-competitor ay si Starbucks and then si Coffee Bean or Coffee Project, like that. Okay, so any questions regarding our task environment? Okay, so I think it's clear. Ayan, so we have the environmental and environmental factors. Okay, so for the internal, yan, So these are the forces that affect a business as a separate entity. Internal working system or organizational climate, which are controllable environmental factors. So syempre, internal environmental factors nga siya. So this can be controlled by the management. So for example, kumbaga, parang may problem sa production, ayan. So this can control by the management. So pwede nilang gawan ng paraan or ng solusyon. Okay? So while yung task or yung tinatawag nating external environmental factors, like the customers, financial institution, and government agency, these are the uncontrollable environmental factors. Okay? So syempre, di naman nila makokontrol yung behavior ng customers nila. And then they can control the rules and regulations na isiset ng government agency. And as well as yung behavior ng mga market, no? And then yung mga policies or yung interest na ipapataw ng mga financial institution. Okay? Next, yung tinatawag naman na indirect, a business as well as other business organizations. So kung wala sa internal and task, pwede siyang mabilong sa indirect. So ano-ano nga ba yung mga indirect environmental factors? This includes the socio-cultural variables. So I think this one is also uncontrollable factors, no? So first, yung socio-cultural variables, the way of life of the people. So we can control, no, kung ano bang way na gusto nilang mabuhay, and then yung mga behavior nila. Technological environment, and comprises the innovations and improvements in methods, machine, and materials. So we can control, no, kung gaano ba kabilis yung innovations and kung gaano nakateki ang environment natin. So that is why as the organization, kailangan nating makasabay doon sa pag-usbong ng innovation and then yung ng technology. Economic environment, general pattern of the economy can be viewed from three. So this can be the economic system, general business cycle, and economic policies. Next is the political legal environment, concerned with the complex laws, regulations, and their actions which affect all kinds of enterprises in varying degrees. And so this talk about the laws and regulations. Ayan, pag economic environment naman, I think it talks about the macro. Ayan, yung mga behavior na ng economy as a whole. Ayan, for example, mga inflation, gaano kabilis yung pagpalitan ng pera, and then yung mga pagbabago sa policies ng economy. And then physical environment involves availability of land, nature, of climate, weather conditions. So ito yung it talks about syempre yung environment na. Yan. Yung access natin sa electricity, ayan, yung yung iba pagkakaroon na ng mga sarili nilang power plant, and then mga solar energy. Yan. And then this can be the nature of climate, yan, weather conditions, and yung availability ng land and accessibility ng land din. International environment, this is the environment of the foreign countries. Okay, so any questions with our environmental factors? So kung wala dito sa task or internal, di ba, sa internal owners, managers, and board of directors. While yung task, 4 lang naman yun. Supplier, distributor, customer, and then competitors. Pag wala doon, so it will fall to indirect environmental factors. Okay, so next, mabilis ba ako or tama lang? Nagigats naman ba natin? Okay, so now let's discuss the environmental forces and environmental scanning. So when we say environmental forces, these are the factors in the business environment that influence its operations. These include a broad of range of disparate items such as economic climate, local politics, consumer income, and education of the labor force. While the environmental scanning process of gathering information about events and the relationships with an organization's internal and external environment. So the basic purpose of environmental scanning is to help management to determine the future direction of the organization. Okay, so madalas, no, para makapag-environment scanning tayo, kailangan natin bisitahin itong environmental forces na to. Okay, so yung mga data ng environmental forces, kailangan sa environment scanning. So yung environment scanning daw is the process of gathering the information. No? Okay, gets ba? Next naman is the environmental analysis. So for example, nag-gather na natin yung mga information. Yan, and that's when we're going to do the environmental analysis. So this is a strategic tool. It is a process to identify all the external and internal elements which can affect the organization's performance. Okay, so the analysis entails assessing the level of threat and opportunity the factors might present. Okay, so yun, di ba after sa environmental scanning or environment scanning, parang nag-gather na tayo ng information about the problem and then ano yung mga elements na nag-trigger doon. Ayan. And then, ililista natin lahat yon, yan isa-isa. And then, i-analyze natin kung gaano ba kalaki yung effect nito sa organization. And then, kung gaano kalala yung ano nito, yung kung gaano kalaking threat ito sa environment. Okay? Any questions regarding the three? Yung environmental scanning, scanning, forces, and then analysis. I guess naintindihan nyo kasi wala kayong question. Okay, next. The future of every industry depends upon the following. Okay, so yung future daw ng every industry, no, depends on the following. So first, yung demand for product or service of the industry, supply of products or services, and then yung competitive conditions. First, yung demand, no? Long-range growth or decline. And then yung stability of demand for product and state of product life cycle. So dito, kumbaga diba, every now and then, merong nag-trending, no? So, hindi laging yung, kunyari, for example, sa mga fashion style, hindi siya palaging yun ang trending. So, laging may end yung pagiging trending ng mga products na yun. Okay? So, for the long-range growth or decline, this talks about the, kumbaga yung kung pwedeng mag-grow ba siya and then magda-decline. Pero usually talaga nagda-decline yung mga service or products. So that is why laging may mga version 2, may mga pag sa cellphone naman may nakikreate ulit na bago, no? Para just to para hindi lang mamatay yung business. Okay, so when we say naman stability of demand for products, so this involve question like, is the demand steady or predictable or uncertain? Ayan. And then factors affecting the stability or availability of the close substitute, durability products, and whether the product is a necessity or luxury. Ayan. Kumbaga yung products mo ba, stable ba, or forever na ba siyang magiging in demand? So I guess yung siguro best example yung hindi na kahit gaano katagal na siya, parang hindi bumababa yung pagiging in demand niya. I guess yung Apple, ayan, Bakit gaano pa siya kamahal? Naging stable na yung demand niya for those who can afford it. Yan, pinipilahan pa din. Though meron namang mga cheaper one. Okay, next is the state of product life cycle. Okay, so I guess yun nga, it talks about the stages ng product life cycle wherein magiging in demand siya, and then hanggang sa parang kumbaga hindi na siya magiging patok dun sa mga tao. Next, supply of products or services. So we have the capacity of industry yung capacity ng industry na ma-supply or ma-produce yung product na yun. Sumali mo, sobrang high-tech nun, kaya bang i-produce? Vitality of the technology, and then availability of needed resources. So for the needed resources, this can be labor or the capital, like raw materials and equipment. Social constraint and inflation vulnerability. So yung product mo ba, kumbaga, maapektuhan kaya ng inflation. Ayun. So next is the competitive conditions, government support and regulation, and then structure of the industry. Okay, so for the government support and regulations, like mag-create ng mga regulations, yung business na somehow it will help the business. Okay, so for example, ngayong pandemic ano kayang dapat support and regulations na ginagawa nila for the businesses? Okay. So for the structure of industry naman, the attitude of the companies in an industry. Yan. So managers may tend to adhere strictly to acceptably code of business ethics. Salesmen like to engage in any activity that might give them immediate profit, or what else? The extent of competition within industry. So for example, ano pa bang magkalaban? Jollibee and McDo, ayan. So what to consider to determine the position of the company? Okay, so first, the market position of the company, relation to the company's sales to total industry to leading competition. So para malaman natin kung stable ba ang company natin or nasaan na ba tayong level, kunyari upper, middle, or lower class ng yung company yung class sa industry. So you can just compute it by dividing your sales to overall sales of the industry. Okay? Yan. Or comparing, or pwedeng you can do ratio naman. Sales to total industry. Yan. Yung company sales versus the sales of the total industry. So you can compare kung gaano kalaki yung or gaano kakaliit sa industry na yun. Like for example, 2% ka lang naman sa buong industry. So meron silang mga thumb rule naman yan kung ano yung acceptable. Next is the strength of the company in major markets. Okay, so ito pwede na natin pag-usapan dito yung uniqueness ng ng product mo. Yan, and yung demand niya. Relative appeal of the company's products. Yan, parang it talks about din yung uniqueness and yung ability ng yung demand din ng product mo to the market. Supply position of the company, competitive access to resources. Ayan, kumbaga kung marami kang access to the resources or marami kang supplier. Unique productivity advantage, research and development strength, and then special competitive consideration. So for example, yung relative financial strength mo, yung financial statement mo ba kung kumbaga stable ba siya? And then next is yung government and community relations. And how was the relationship with the government and the community? Kung nagbabayad ka naman ng tamang tax, I guess you have a good relationship with the government. And then if you can help the community For example, taking care of the environment. So I guess you'll have a good relationship with the community. Next, ability and values of the company managers. Yan. So how the managers treat their subordinates. Ayan. And how do they train their subordinates. Okay, so we have here the types of environmental studies. So we have here the irregular, regular, and continuous. When we say irregular, consists of largely of the ad hoc environmental studies, or ito yung parang irregular, meaning ito yung bihirang mangyari, tas kailangan nating pag-aralan. So for example, pandemic. Ayan. I guess nasa irregular study siya. Pero I guess, pag hindi pa rin to na-solve, magiging part na rin siya ng regular. No? Yan. So ito yung mga problems na bigla-biglang nangyayari. Or bihirang mangyari. Ayan. So nagiging siya, part siya ng irregular environmental studies. Next naman yung regular. Ito yung madalas na nangyayari. For example, yung pagbabago ng taste ng mga customer, pagbabago ng trending for this year, and then ayun, yung mga ganun. So revolve around regular review of the environment or significant environment components. So this, we can talk about here the inflation rate, yung exchange ng pera. Yan. Continuous tends to be more proactive or future-oriented than either regular or irregular system. So ito naman, itong studies na to, pag ginawa nila to, dapat apektado hanggang future. Okay? So parang long-term siya. Ayun. Future-oriented. Baga. Okay, so here are the techniques of analyzing the business environment. So first, scenario planning. Formulation of multiple forecasts of the future condition followed by an analysis of how to respond effectively to each of those conditions. Okay, so parang dito, parang kang nagpa-forecast. So I guess we usually do this, no, kahit sa sarili natin. Like, how if someday ma-experience ko to or ma-encounter ko tong problems na to, what will I do? So yon. Okay, so ito yung techniques, no? Yan. And then forecasting, parang same lang din sa scenario planning. Pero ito kasi scenario planning, parang wala siyang basis, no? Parang lang, nag-isip ka lang kung how if mangyari to, ganyan. While yung forecasting, ito rin, nag-iisip ka rin ng kung ano yung possible na mangyayari in the future. Pero you have basis, like yung mga historical datas natin. And then through our historical datas, siguro mag-multiply ka lang by 2 or 20, nag-increase ng 20%. Ayan. And then, this also can, by using your historical data, you can predict what will happen in the future. Okay? And through that, you can just create solution and list down all your alternative actions. So process of predicting what will happen in the future, considering the interplay of some environmental variables. So yung variables na yon, like yung historical data mo, and then yung behavior din ng internal environment nyo. Okay? Yung SWOT and TOES naman, so I think we already know what is SWOT. SWOT is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Okay? So, pwede rin siyang baliktarin like TOES. Okay? So, threat, opportunities, weakness, and strength. So, when we say strength and weakness, it talks about the internal environment. While the opportunities and threats, we can see this in our external environment. So again, yung strength and weakness, we can see this in the internal, while yung opportunities and threats, we can see this external, in the external. So systematic identification of the factors and strategy that reflects the best combination of these factors. I guess you can do this for yourself, no? Para kumbaga i-assess mo yung sarili mo. So you can list down all your strength, all your weaknesses, and then your opportunities, and then what are the threats for you, no? Yeah, so I guess for the opportunities, considering what you are doing today. So I guess future work, ayan. And then for the threats, for example, ano ba? For your studies siguro, yung threat sa inyo siguro parang hindi na ma-maximize yung learning. It's because nasa online tayo. Ayan. So you can do this on your own. Pero I guess naintindihan nyo na kung ano yung school. Benchmarking, process in which organizations undertakes to compare its practices and technologies with those other organizations. So, eto, pag sabi natin benchmarking, para tong pagko-compare ng organization mo sa ibang organization. So, for example, benchmarking ng Samsung to Apple. So syempre gusto ring alamin ng Samsung ano kaya yung reason bakit mabenta yung products ng Apple. Okay? So ayun yung magiging basihan mo para mag-improve, no? Or baka pwede mong i-consider itong techniques na to ng Apple. Okay? International business that is carried out more than one country. Okay, kaya nga siya international business. So stages of international business. So first, outsourcing. So engaging in the international division of labor so that the manufacturing can be done in the countries with the cheapest sources of labor and supplies. So best example dito yung mga companies na nagsusupply from China kasi medyo mura kasi yung yung labor ng pagma-manufacture ng mga products. Ayan. Or yung mga US countries or US companies outsource sila ng services dito sa Pilipinas. For example, yung mga call center. And then pwede rin silang mag-outsource sa India kasi mura kasi yung labor doon, no, for the services. Okay? So for the nagets ba natin yung outsourcing? Parang ano yan kumbaga nag-outsource sila ng isang process sa ibang bansa. Yeah, is because pwedeng mas mura or mas may ability kasi yung country na yun to produce that product or services. And then other factors. Okay? So for importing and exporting, I think we are already familiar with importing and exporting. So when we say exporting, making products or services in the firm's domestic marketplace and selling it in another country. Okay, so ipoproduce dito pero sa ibang bansa ibebenta. Importing, bringing a goods, services, and capital into the home country from abroad. Okay, so for example, mas mura kasi yung rice sa ibang bansa, so mag-i-import tayo nandito. Okay, so pinaka-trend ata ngayon yung yung vaccine, di ba? So the Philippines can produce our own vaccine kasi hindi pa tayo ganun ka knowledgeable in experimenting, and then wala pa tayong ganun parang wala tayong budget for that study. So what we do or what the government does is to just import vaccine. Okay? For the licensing and then franchising, yan. So for example, nag-outsource ka na and then nag-import and export, then you can do the licensing or franchising. Ano yung difference between the licensing and then franchising? So licensing, giving another, the licensing and then franchising, giving another the authority to produce its product under an agreement. Okay, so you're giving the authority, no, sa ibang tao to produce that product. Okay, so we already know kung ano yung mga, parang familiar na tayo sa mga franchise, di ba? Like franchise ng Jollibee, pero iba yung owner. Ayan. So the difference between them is that the licensing is manufacturing companies, and then yung franchising is the service. Okay? Kumbaga yung serbisyo. Ganyan. Strategic alliance, 2 or more firms jointly cooperate for mutual gain. Okay? So 2 or more firms jointly cooperate for mutual gain. So ito yung parang mga sister companies, I think. Ayan, so parang since same naman sila ng objective, they can join force for the mutual gain. Pero parang magiging dalawa yung owner, parang nag-join force lang sila. And then joint venture, specific type of strategic alliance in which partner agree to form a separate or independent organization for some business purposes or purpose. Kunyari, di ba, dalawang company nag-join together for the strategic alliance. Pero for the joint venture naman, strategic alliance pa rin sila, pero you allow yung partner mo to do other business pa rin, no? Or parang sarili niyang business na hindi ka nakasama doon. While the last one is the wholly owned affiliates. Yan, 1/3 of the multinational companies enter foreign markets through this. So 100% owned by the parent company formed it. So instead na a strategic alliance and then joint venture, talagang binili mo na yung buong company na yun. Okay? So gets na ba? Yan. So from outsourcing and then mag-i-import and exporting. Tapos pag lumalaki na yung business natin, we can do the licensing and then franchising and then pag may mga companies na nangangailangan and then they need your help, then they can do strategic alliance and then magjo-joint venture na din, no? Kasi they allow you to do other more business and then pag di na talaga nila kaya, no, ibebenta na nila yung business nila sa inyo. So I think na-encounter natin to sa mga series na napapanood natin, especially pag may mga companies na na pinapalabas. Environmental challenges of international business. Okay, so first, ayan, yung mga challenges nun sa international business. So economic system. Ayan, iba-iba kasi yung economic system ng iba't ibang bansa. So the China is a capitalist parang country and then the North Korea is communism. So the challenges there is iba-iba kasi ng economic system. So it's either you'll adjust, di ba? Natural resources. Ayan. So kadalasan kaya din tayo nag-outsource kasi wala yung natural resources natin. And then syempre, baka naman hindi accessible yung resources kumbaga parang hindi nila kayo i-allow na magkaroon ng access sa natural resources nila kasi foreign country kayo or foreign company kayo. Infrastructure, ayan, parang syempre you can just put an infrastructure, no, lalo na pag foreign company kayo. So you still need requirements and parang permission, no, from the government. Political and legal environment. So same with the economic system, iba-iba rin naman kasi tayo ng political environment. So yung policy sa ibang bansa, sa bansa mo, maaaring iba yun sa policies dito sa bansa na gusto mong pasukin. Kasi nga foreign company ka. Government stability, ayan. So kunyari yung US stable yung government nila while pag sa Pilipinas, hindi siya stable, so maaaring bigla-bigla na lang ipasara yung business mo. So mawawalan ka ng branch, no, from that country. Incentive for international trades, and then controls on international trade. Ayan, so hindi ka naman basta-basta nakakapag-import and export. You still need permission or mga permits na yan. Tariff, quota, export restrict agreement, and then yung cultural environment. Ayan, parang din to, yung export restrict agreements, meron tong connection with the control on international trade. Okay, so yun nga, though talagang profitable siya, kasi bukod sa nag-expand yung business mo, lumalawak din yung range ng customer mo, no? Parang hindi ka lang sa US may customer as well as sa ibang bansa din. Though marami talaga siyang requirement. Ayan, those stages of economic growth, modernization theory. So from traditional society, naging transitional, nag-take off, drive to maturity, and high mass consumption. Okay. So far ba, nagigets natin? Okay, you can just thumbs up. Ayan, pag nagets natin or nabibilisan ba kayo. Okay. So next, ayan, yung those stages of economic growth. So the first one is the traditional society. So here, no, the economy is dominated by subsistent activity. Output is consumed by producers and it is not traded. So trade is barter where goods are exchanged directly for other goods. Yeah. So agriculture is the most important industry. Production is labor intensive using only limited quantities of capital. Technology is limited. Ayan, and resource allocation is determined very much by traditional methods of production. So again, no, dito sa traditional society, parang pinakapatok dito yung agriculture. It's because ang barter pa lang dito is changing of goods to goods. Ayan. So yung stage 2, yung transitional or I think precondition for take-off, increase specialization generates surpluses for trading. Okay, so there is an emerge of a transport infrastructure to support the trade. So habang nagkakaroon na tayo ng specialization, tapos sumasobra na yung mga napoproduce natin, and that's why nagkakaroon ng infrastructure para to support those trading. Ayan, and then entrepreneurs emerge as income, savings, and investment grow. Yan, parang nag-grow na yung yung economy. Ayan, parang pwede rin itong i-consider yung mga external trade. Next naman is yung take-off. Industrialization increases with workers switching from agriculture sector to the manufacturing sector. Okay, so mula sa mga parang sa mga raw materials, no, they know now how to manufacture those goods. And here, no, the growth is concentrated in a few regions of the country and within one or two manufacturing industries. So here, no, the people can save money already. And next is yung drive to maturity. The economy is diversifying into new areas. So pwedeng dito nagkakaroon na ng mga innovations, yan, mga technological innovations, providing a diverse range of investment opportunities. Since malaki na yung innovation ng technology, yung iba't ibang mga manufacturing, they invest no sa technology na yon para mas mapabilis yung production, yan, at mas marami yung mga ma-produce na products. And then the economy here is producing a wide range of goods and services. And there is a less reliance on imports. Yan. Since they can create their own goods and services, and then nagkakaroon na rin ng another portfolio for the goods and services, parang di na sila nag-rely sa mga imports. Next is the high mass consumption. I think this is the last stage. The economy is geared towards mass consumption and the level of economy activity is very high. So technology is extensively used but expansion slows and the service sector becomes increasingly dominant. And now multinational emerge, and then income for large numbers of persons transcends basic foods, shelter, and clothing. And then interest the social welfare. So yon, pag mas maunlad yung economy, yung social welfare ng mga tao nag-i-increase din. So dito pag kumbaga nasa maximum level na yung pagpa-provide ng technology and then yung service, and then nasa maximum level na din yung yung economic development. And that's why nagkakaroon ng increase din sa social welfare ng society or ng mga humans. Okay, any question guys before we proceed to the forms of business organization, and the types of business according to their activities? Let me know. Okay, so if there's none, we can have a quick break, like 10 minutes, and then let's go back by 2:15. Okay? Let's have a break muna. Quick break for 10 minutes.